Welcome in. This Wednesday, the second signing day edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio here with you this morning. Lane Kiffin speaking today at 10 o'clock. It's moved from noon, so Lane will talk some recruiting here in a little bit. 10 o'clock for that one this morning. You all right over there?
Yeah, I don't know. Clearly, in the midst of updating things got changed.
Okay. So we'll hit some of that. Ole Miss basketball losing last night to Kentucky at the Pavilion, 75-66. Wildcats over the Rebels in that one. Played a pretty good first half, and has been the case pretty much for Ole Miss basketball this entire SEC season. Once a team goes on a run, that's curtains for the Rebels at that point. So that and more coming up on the show. A show brought to you Sunday by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford, but next door to the Oxford Exxon, the Oxford Crystal. Just a little update there. They've got the new Sunriser. It's maybe the larger round sausage. That's a better value than what used to be inside that Sunriser combo. $5.99. Just the Sunriser, $2.99 as well. It's the Oxford Crystal and other Crystal locations around Mississippi as well. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote. The rest completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. Do what I've done. What I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Guest join on the myperfectfranchise.net hotline. If you're a displaced corporate executive or you're wanting to put your career in your own hands, maybe you're an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify, Andy Ludicky can help. He's a longtime Rivals board member, a diehard college football fan, franchise veteran. He owns multiple franchises and businesses, uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands. It's 100% free. You got nothing to lose. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net or contact Andy anytime at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or 404-973-9901.
We took a flyer on a different stream situation this morning. So if you are in the stream, it does not look like your chat is showing, or if we're communicating with you and you're saying things, go to the stream that we put out on Twitter and on the message board. That would help things. I think it's possible that some of you guys are chatting into the ether at this point. So just saying that because I saw a couple of threads there about slow chat day. I think that's what it is. I think we are having people in multiple spots accidentally. It's a one-time thing. We hit a button that we just took a shot on. So anyway, do that if you would. Appreciate that. I think that would. Oh, they're hearing the sound now too. That's not good.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it. There's nothing I can do with it. Let me try something.
Yep, you're fine. It's one of those live things, so just let it. I don't know if it's the headphones or not, but you probably could just kill the headphones in general. We're not using them.
I don't think it's the headphones. I was just changing the one thing that I knew got changed.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm sorry. So, F it.
Yeah, it's a day.
It's kind of that. I'm kind of there. So,
anyway, let's see. Obviously, today's signing day, not a huge thing. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about the calendar. We talked about everything that is the reason for that. A couple different guys signing today, potentially more signing today. I don't know. I mean, there is some indecision coming into the day as far as what players are going to do. But you've got transfers that happened since the last time we talked to him. You've got Walker Howard. You've got Spencer Sanders. You have all these different deals. That's going to be the majority of the meat of this thing today. What do you sort of anticipate Lane's message being this morning?
Based on Twitter yesterday, I think it's going to all be about more of the transfer portal, and that's how you build. And this is pro sports. I think it's going to be very repetitive. I think Lane really likes the whole transfer portal king thing. As if you base on actions, that's what they tweeted about last night.
Yeah,
I think they're going to talk
the video
about
production was transfer.
I think that's who they are right now, which is juxtaposed against a more aggressive high school recruiting philosophy going into the 2024 cycle. I don't know. I think I was kind of working on a column already this morning and a little bit last night during the basketball game. I think he's always going to be an NFL GM a little bit, where he's building team while also keeping an eye on franchise program. But I think
Team first.
I think with Kiffin, it's pretty obvious that it's always about now. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think it's a different approach than maybe other programs like Ole Miss traditionally have. And maybe it changes over time. Maybe this is a year where there's a lot more prospects in Mississippi this year, the 24 class. Maybe he will have naturally a more high school heavy class. Maybe Pete Golding's presence will enable them with a year to work to recruit a higher level of high school prospect on the defensive side of the ball than they've been able to recruit in the past. I don't know. But in terms of today, I don't think today's going to be about the 2 to 4 kids that they add. Can I press mute on the computer input? Yeah, where's that? Sorry.
No, you're good. It's live shows. It's what happens. It's no big deal.
I suspect, I suspect he'll question why there's a press conference today. And I get it. We're doing a press conference today because everyone always does a press conference on National Signing Day, but National Signing Day is more meaningless today than it's ever been. I mean, the second signing day is a meaningless day. It's a couple of guys, 3 guys, 4 guys, whatever the case may be. It's not a big number. It's not like, see if that works. See if that goes. It makes it go away.
It's one of those deals too where I think it's multifaceted. I think in some ways because of budgets in the past and last year, I think Lane needed to go portal heavy. I think that's where Ole Miss sort of found a niche in a lot of ways. I think he was on the front end of that in a lot of ways as far as what was possible. He sort of beat people to the punch a little bit, and frankly, it's what Lane's more comfortable doing. He enjoys it more. If it's one or the other, he would rather talk to the guy about NIL and playing time and more of an NFL type model versus the college deal of taking the pictures like Brian Kelly and the whole deal and all that stuff. I mean, there's a certain whatever to that, and it's across the board. I mean, I am so curious as this thing goes, and we'll find out this very soon because the spring and the summer is when it starts to really pick up. Is their model for 24? The NILs in the bank, as we talked about. You've got all, that is no longer an excuse. You've publicized a lot of money from an NIL standpoint. If you choose to go the high school route, they've got to start getting kids that way. You're always going to have the portal to some extent, probably more than like a Georgia or somebody who really gets the high school kids straight out of high school, and that's what it is. But do we have any signs to this point of sort of what this 24 class potentially looks like? I mean, do you think there actually is any reversal in change there?
I don't know. It's too early to say. How does pay for play change between now and then? Is there a kind of a correction, a market correction, or does it continue to be massive? How much money do you have next season? If you had $10 million this year, do you have less than that next year? Do you have more than that next year? What does the results on the field in the fall do to your ability to raise money? How quickly do kids make decisions? How fluid are those decisions? I don't know. I mean, it's a different world. What does the portal look like a year from now? What does the portal look like in May? I mean, I thought it was interesting that they referred to it as the mid-year transfer class, which tells you that they're anticipating an end year transfer class? Is that more? Is that less? Do they run guys off in the spring? Do guys leave in the spring because they decide they want to go? I mean, I don't know how anybody can at any program that's not a very small handful of the elite upper crust programs. I don't know how anybody can possibly predict what a class is going to look like without like either being fatalistic or being super fan. Oh, it's going to be awesome or it's going to suck. Those are extremes. I look at it and go, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. There's too many variables. I mean, I would have thought a month ago, for example, I would have thought Walker White was going to be in this class from Little Rock.
Sure.
I would have never guessed that Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard would be on the team. And they are. And I don't think Ole Miss is going to make Walker White's finalists list. I think he's going to do something fairly soon, and I don't think it's going to be Ole Miss, obviously. So everything is super fast changing. Like if you were to try to forecast the 2024 class outside of a handful of kids in Mississippi that I think you could take an educated guess on, I guess it's relatively impossible. I did a recruiting overview preview for 2024 on Saturday, and as I was doing it, I was laughing at myself routinely, like, yeah, this today is accurate. On Saturday, that was accurate. By April, half of this is going to be inaccurate. And I thought, the people who don't get that will come back and go, oh, man, you hit like 10%. And it's like there's no way to do in January of 23 an accurate representation across the board of what a signing class, what targets might look like in 11 months. And that's before you factor in the fact that Kiffin is a guy that, and I think he would maybe admit this, but if you talk to people around him, Kiffin's a guy that changes evaluations drop of a hat. They'll be all in on a kid, and he looks at the film one day and goes, nope. Or they'll be out on a kid, and he'll look at the film and go, I want that one. So there's just too many variables to even possibly predict what it's going to look like. And then what happens with portal guys? When you bring portal guys in, you're going to, at some point, there's not enough body of evidence yet. But at some point, and this is not talking about Ole Miss, this is programs in general, you're going to get a reputation in the portal of, hey, that's a place where they tell you something, and that's what they do. Or that's a place where, man, you just can't trust those guys. You can't trust what they tell you about where your role's going to be, because as soon as you get there, all those promises are out the window. And that's going to happen. We've seen it with Florida, with pay for play, with Rashada. That's going to start happening elsewhere. Guys are going to be told, hey, you come to school X, there's going to be $100,000 up front. Well, the kid gets there and there's not $100,000. That reputation is going to start to get out. The market is going to develop and establish itself over time in this new world where the quiet part's out loud. Because in the past, right? I know.
No, you're good.
In the past, you promised a kid a shoebox full of money. And he got to campus, and the money wasn't there. Well, what was he going to say? Hey, they promised me a bunch of money. I didn't get it. He couldn't say anything. Well, now you can. We signed an NIL deal, and the money's not there. It's literally what Jaden Rashada said. I'm blown away by the people that criticize him. He didn't do anything wrong. He said, hey, the market is go out and shop for the highest bidder. That's what I did. I signed a contract. They voided the contract. I said, peace out. Sure. He didn't do anything wrong. But moving forward, guys now are going to say, okay, well, here's the deal. Let's put it in writing, and I want to get mine. I think one of the reasons Davis and Igmanosin left, whether you think it's right or wrong, good or bad, that's up to you. I think one of the reasons that he left was he thought he deserved to make more NIL money than he did, or pay for play money. And clearly somebody else gave him a bigger bag. He was at Ole Miss 1 year. Started, 10, 11 games? had a bright future, I would think, inside the program. I don't think this was about Chris Partridge. Chris Partridge is at Oregon.
Yeah, he didn't follow Partridge.
I mean, Ohio State is nowhere close to Oregon. They both start with an O, and that's as far as it goes. So I just think it's a brand new world that we're continuing to see develop. And we've talked a lot about whether it's good or bad or whether it's going to be attractive to fans or all of that stuff. But in terms of forecasting what a recruiting class is going to look like, I have no idea.
And when I say, does it change any, I never think, I mean, Lane's always going to be into the portal to whatever extent. I'm talking about, does it go from, would they sign 12 players in the early signing period? Is that right?
Yeah, they signed 12, and then so they'll add another 3. So
yeah. In that early signing period, does it go from 12 to 17 to 16? Because, a lot of the storyline out of the early signing period in December was Lane said, hey, we're going to take as many guys as we can get that are quality. We're not just going to fill up the class with bodies that we're not sure about. Well, the goal for Ole Miss is to be in more. I mean, this is duh, but just the reason my thought process is here is is that you get more higher quality players. Hence, your number goes up in December that you sign. I mean, Georgia is able to sign 21 players because they found 21 players who they believe can play for the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
So instead of 12, can you get that number to 16?
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, you're always sure the portal is going to be part of college football until mass regulation does or does not happen. But at the end of the day, when you get a kid out of high school, you have 2 chances. You get a chance for him to compete immediately and then whatever, and then you get a chance to keep him and potentially develop him. Probably not going to happen, but it's at least more of a chance than simply going, no, we're just going to go grab everybody out of the portal and it's going to be okay. Because a lot of dudes out of the portal have some reason they left.
Yeah.
The high school kid doesn't have – his reason he chose you is because he wanted the opportunity to play for you. That's completely different.
That's what's interesting about the guys that they add today, however many of them there are. These are all appear to be development guys.
Mm-hmm.
So the first period was these are impact guys. The second period is these are development guys. It's just kind of interesting.
And using the numbers here versus they're going to be enough in May where we'll go grab guys out of the portal to fill those spots instead.
Yeah. And so you wonder, like, when they're development guys, how long do they get to develop? 2 years?
Are they taking guys who they believe mentally those guys are okay with developing? You know what I mean? There's a difference.
Maybe so.
The guys you come today, hey, are you going to be pissed off when you don't play next year? Or, hey, are you building toward 2025 or whatever?
Because nobody's got 85 contributors.
No, ever.
So, you take some chances. You got some spots on your roster that you work with. It's just a new era of roster building. And you do it different ways at different places. That's become very clear.
Complain is a weird word. Triple Mass doesn't think, but Lane complains today. Lane will talk about calendar changes. He will talk about why are we here. It's actually sort of an interesting barometer because the number of people who use complain versus explain depends on what your Q rating is of Lane Kiffin right now. If you're a little frustrated by things from the fall still, he's complaining.
The one thing
when he was winning, it was, hey, he's educating us.
Right. The one thing he can't do is he can't complain or talk about NIL money. Because a year ago he said he needed $6 million, and he got almost double that.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they've promoted that publicly.
Yeah, so you got it. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes in and says, it obviously changed and you have to have more. I don't know. He's depend on his mood. He tweeted.
That's a good point.
He retweeted the Davis kid last night with his Mississippi State stuff. I don't know whether that was trolling or whether that was pissed off or who knows.
Because there's evidence of both.
Here's the thing, and we talk about this. We admit this out loud. We don't know him. We don't know this guy on any personal level. I don't know how to read different things.
But even beyond that, in his social media history, sometimes it's a sign of something, and sometimes it's because he's frustrated. We have seen both examples over the course of his social media.
The Monday of the state week that was angry.
But even when guys would sign with or commit to Texas A&M, who retweet them, there's an implied thing there.
Yeah, that's the transfer to the SIP stuff.
Yeah.
And they embraced that fully. That was a pretty big production for that tweet.
Yeah.
There was some time that was spent on that. So that's a big part of the brand. And I think he likes the whole Portal King thing. I do. I think it's a big part of what he wants to do.
I mean, it's the way to market him right now. Kyle, thanks for the super chat as always. It's February. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. Love the new set and changes. Need a frame pick of Gus and Rizzo. You could take some pictures of the dogs. You could do that.
Yeah, I could. Not sure where I'd put them, but yeah.
Do you have photos from Wrigley and Miller from back in the day?
Somewhere.
Do you?
Yeah.
The game last night, Kentucky 75, Ole Miss 66 in front of I'm not even blaming anything, just with weather and everything, a sparse crowd at the Pavilion last night. Again, Ole Miss played well early. Abram had a really good first half to kind of pace them, and then it got away there as it basically always has. They've now, from a cover standpoint, was Ole Miss 1-9 in the leagues. They played 10 games. They're 1-8.
They're 1-8.
Yeah, because last night was the halfway point of the league schedule.
That's correct.
They're 2-7 against the spread in SEC play at this point. South Carolina and Tennessee, the two covers there.
You know, I wrote this last night. They weren't awful on offense.
It's always something.
And they get looks.
Yeah.
They just can't make shots sometimes. And then they go through, and you said it a minute ago, and you were exactly right. You nailed it. Once the other team goes on a run.
That's it.
That's it. You can't answer the run.
They have answered a run once in 2023, and it was against South Carolina, who sucks.
I watched a lot of college basketball last night, and they just don't have enough scorers to win consistently at all. When they're 1-8 at the halfway turn, they've got a handful of games left they could win if they play really hard. That's their problem. Like last night, they played really hard. I thought they had a pretty good plan on Shibwe. They didn't let him just kill him. They held their own against Kentucky on the boards. I think they lost on the boards, but it wasn't bad. They actually held Kentucky to a pretty decent number on the offensive glass. They just don't have any. And look, if Abram doesn't get off to that red hot start, they're probably in trouble out of the gate. But he did. He got off to a red hot start, but you can't expect that to continue. And then they just don't have anybody else. You're counting on two freshman guards now, Abram and Caldwell, and Morrell hasn't come back. Kermit indicated that he thought Morrell would come back Saturday against Vanderbilt. We haven't even touched on the Daeshun Ruffin thing. We're going to get there in a second. But Ruffin's gone. I would suspect Ruffin's gone. Period. We'll see.
You mean beyond the season?
I think he's gone.
Yeah.
We'll see if he comes back. I just don't know that they have enough. You look at what's on the floor, and it's just not enough. I watched Alabama and Vanderbilt. Whew, that was something. I watched Arkansas, Texas A&M. I watched Northwestern, Iowa. Ole Miss doesn't have scorers the way those teams do.
No, that's what struck me last night watching that basketball game is from an X's and O's standpoint, because I frankly, I'm trying to learn more basketball, if I'm just being completely honest. Their offense at times has been really, really bad. I thought their ball movement was pretty good last night that led to open shots. They just don't make them. Like, from an X's and O's standpoint, last night made sense. You go, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, during that run that Kentucky made,
yeah,
Ole Miss was getting looks.
And it's just clank,
shots
clank,
just don't
clank,
fall.
clank, clank.
Yeah.
And now what? Why? And now that's
Kentucky plays their bad half. And,
look,
and the guard goes down for a minute, and you look up at halftime and you're tied. And at halftime, I thought, well, whatever opportunity they had is gone. Like, to me, the second half was incredibly predictable.
Yeah, tied was not a good thing. Look, when you do the autopsy or the obituary on the season, whatever, however you want to phrase what we're autopsying at that point, a lot of it is simply managing the roster in all ways. It's a lot of the portal stuff hasn't worked. The outgoing guys have been good at other places. Some of it's apples for apples, some of it's not. The incoming guys haven't built up to give you those extra players. Frankly, Breakfield's improved his game. He's made some steps.
For sure.
If he doesn't have to be your 1 or your 2, he's pretty good.
If you could let Jamin be the 3 or 4.
Yeah. And we mean best players on the court, not position.
Right.
No, yeah, there's no doubt about that. But then, like I said, Morrell's been banged up. He's been whatever, but he hasn't taken some huge step. We'll get to Ruffin in 2 seconds. And then what has become a nightly thing is they play skittish. They're trying, they're playing hard, but they play skittish. They take shots, they look over to see if they're getting pulled.
Yep.
You've got early timeouts. There's no confidence that they're just going to remain in game flow. And to me, again, novice as hell, that is the one thing that I think is the epitome of what has gone wrong over the course of the last several years for Kermit Davis. My opinion.
I think it's more than fair to question the way that he uses the bench in games.
Yeah.
Make a mistake. He does that thing where he he appears to get really frustrated, goes down the sideline, points at somebody, and they make a change. It's and you just wonder if guys are playing watching the bench. And when you watch other teams, and I've watched a lot of college basketball. I'm trying to just not punt the whole thing because I don't think that's right. You don't see that elsewhere. You see coaches get pissed off. You see coaches get frustrated. You see coaches yell at their players. But like I didn't see Buzz Williams and Eric Musselman and Nate Oates last night yanking guys at the first mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And in college basketball, when you're going to play young guys, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to mess stuff up. Even good players. I mean, you're going to see guys have defensive lapses. I watched, like, again, the A&M Arkansas game. Both teams, I can think of an incident with both teams where there was just a complete defensive mind fart. And the coach pointed it out, but the guy stayed on the floor.
You mentioned it elsewhere in the SEC. Alabama 101-44 over Vanderbilt, which is Ole Miss's next opponent on Saturday in Nashville.
Yeah.
43-15 at the half, and then the second half score was 58-29.
Jerry Stackhouse referred to it as wrong team, wrong time. Excuse me. He's embattled there. They have a decision to make there.
Stackhouse.
Yeah. I mean, and they're just good enough
I know.
To have some hope for the future, and yet they should be better than that.
Yeah.
And
there's 3-6 in the league now.
And the word is the chancellor, president, Grand Poobah at Vanderbilt, whoever
they have.
Yeah, is not a huge Stackhouse fan. So we'll see. I don't know what happens there. Is that that game's at noon? There were jokes among Vanderbilt people last night about guess the crowd. Tickets will be readily available if you're in Nashville and you just want to stop by. You don't have to worry about scalpers.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's Georgia, Auburn. I don't know. It's hard to find a bunch of wins, and it's going to be a game in the first Saturday of February, and to say it's apathy is an understatement of all time. I know he got an extension. I'm just telling you, the word is that he's probably getting run at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Alabama looked good. Alabama looked like, hey.
They're normal Alabama.
Well, they probably had
a bad week.
The way that they played against Oklahoma probably led to some soul searching. Now, look, Oklahoma's okay. The Big 12's really good.
But they shouldn't lose by 40.
Like, I watched Kansas State last night.
Yeah.
Okay? The Big 12's good.
They are.
You can have a middling record in the Big 12 and look up and be like, hey, we're not so bad. It's kind of like SEC baseball. You can have a middling, just look at last season. You can have a middling SEC baseball record
still going to run
and look up and go, hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 is very similar to that. In fact, Jeff Johnson said that on Hand Raise Guys last week. He made the comparison between SEC baseball and Big 12 basketball. And the more that I thought about it, the more I thought that's pretty astute. I think he's right. So, it's just a long-winded point. Alabama looked good. Alabama may have gone through a little bit of a funk based on scheduling, based on what happened off the court. I still think they're going to be fine. They are an uber-talented team.
They're 9-0 now in the SEC, by the way. State ran through South Carolina in Columbia last night, 66-51. Carolina now 1-8 in the SEC. State 2-7.
I'm embarrassed to admit that I watched some of that.
Okay. And then Arkansas got a really good win at home, 81-70 over Texas A&M last night. A&M falling to 7-2 in the SEC. Arkansas now 4-5 after being 1-5 at one point. So three in a row for the Razorbacks.
So I got hot takes on both teams here. I'll be quick. Number one, I'm more and more impressed with Texas A&M every single time I watch them. And they left College Station, so Fayetteville has had 2 weeks of ice and snow. It's been really cold and treacherous up there. And they were supposed to fly into Fayetteville, and they couldn't because of the weather.
Okay.
So they flew into Wichita, bussed from Wichita to Tulsa, spent the night in Tulsa, got up and bussed to Fayetteville. Wasn't their routine, wasn't their thing that they usually do. And yet I thought they played super hard. And then I think A&M is going to be a tournament team. I think A&M is going to be a good tournament team. Buzz is just terrific, what he gets out of his kids. And then on the flip side, and I wrote this in 10 Thoughts, and I was almost hesitant to do it because I didn't want to get the crap started. But if you watched Arkansas Baylor and you watched it objectively, knowing how good Baylor is and knowing kind of how that game went, I thought if you were an Arkansas fan, you saw some things in that went, there's reason to hope. Even with Nick Smith not coming back, it's kind of like Musselman's been experimenting, and I think he has found something. And that's what I said after the Baylor game, and watching last night, I think I'm right. He's going with his bigs more. He's playing the two Mitchell kids together more. They're letting Debo Samuel run more point to keep Black out of foul trouble. And they're just kind of figuring it out. I don't know whether they get Smith back or not. Jimmy Dykes called the game last night. Dykes lives up there. He insists that Smith is coming back in the next 10 days. And if he does, they become a really good team again. But even if he doesn't, I think Arkansas is a tournament team, and they're a dangerous tournament team if they get the right draw and the right officiating, because they're just really freaking big. And they're long. They really, even though A&M scored a bunch of points, they really bothered A&M on the defensive end. That was a really good game.
So Ole Miss basketball on social media last night put this out, just said a message from Daeshun Ruffin, 6 o'clock on the dot, actually, which maybe it was just set to go out at 6. So 2 hours before tip, quote, I want to begin by saying that I love the University of Mississippi, my teammates, my coaching staff, and the Oxford community. My 2 years have been nothing short of amazing, and despite my injuries, built friendships and relationships that will last a lifetime. This decision is me simply putting myself and my future first alongside my family. In hopes of regaining 100% mental and physical health, I've decided to step away from the team and take every action necessary to get well. However, this is not me giving up on the game I love, but simply taking the time to return to full health. I look forward to being back with my Ole Miss teammates in the future and giving them and you the very best version of me. Please respect the privacy of my family and me at this time. Thank you all, and much love. A lot of stuff going around. Clearly some unhappy stuff.
He didn't make the trip
program.
to Stillwater.
Yeah, coach's decision on that
Right.
too. Not as opposed to, and again, not that Daeshun has any, they're not the same, but Malik Ewan said personal situation. Daeshun Ruffin, what he just described is very much a personal situation, but he was not in Stillwater for coach's decision. So, guys, it's not the same thing.
It's not.
Yeah, look, obviously away from the team for the rest of the year. At this point, no one expects Ole Miss to have the same head coach next year. I guess the new coach would have a chance to re-recruit him should he want to, and should Daeshun want to. But I think that's where things sit at best right now between the two parties.
That's more than fair. You hate to talk about what rumors are, but rumors are there was a lot going on in practices last week between the two of them. I think that's he and Davis. I think that's happened on occasion over the course of the last season. And then look, you and me talked about this a lot last fall when basketball would come up. In fairness to us, people would ask me, and I'm sure they asked you, how come you guys aren't doing more preseason basketball stuff? And my answer was always the same. I don't want to do the hype because I'm worried about Ruffin's knee. I'm worried that he won't be the same player. And then if he's not the same player, he's just a 5'8" guy out there who can't drive and can't defend. And in this league, against the guards you play against, that won't work. I mean, look at the guard play in the league. That won't work. And that's exactly what he is. He's not explosive. which I'm sure is incredibly frustrating to him. He can't do the things that he could do pre-ACL. And he's not like Robert Allen, where what Robert Allen, who's not the same player from before his knee injury, but Robert's more of a glue guy, a leader, a different kind of guy. And I'm not criticizing Ruffin, but that's not who he is. And so there are people that question his toughness. I'm not necessarily going to be one of those people. I don't know. Look, it's just, I think Ole Miss will play in the SEC tournament on March the 8th. Okay. So I think that's right. Yeah, because today's what, a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 5 weeks from today. Not a whole lot left. I think the writing's on the wall. Calipari did the thing last night where he talked about the job that Kermit's done, and that's what coaches are going to do. You're about to start hearing that.
Especially Cal. He does it every freaking year.
Yeah. And so.
What's the purpose?
Just that fraternity.
I mean, okay, but it's not.
That's it. I don't know.
If anything, it makes you look kind of dumb, frankly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look, he's
the
head coach at Kentucky, and they should be a lot better than what they are.
Well, I mean, John Calipari has underachieved at Kentucky.
There's no question.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I guess my point is, it's not piling on Kermit. It's different. You know, Jim Schlossnagle did it to Mike when A&M left Oxford. Mike was likely getting fired if they didn't get in.
Oh, I remember that. Remember the tweet?
They're really tight, though. They're like best friends. So that's a little different than just, hey, I coach with you and I really know you and acquaintances. I mean, I don't think John and Kermit are going out for dinner every month or anything. Like,
There was a moment in the game where I thought they were going to get into it.
Yeah, I have not sensed that they are as close as that. I mean, Jim and Mike are tight.
Right.
So that was more of I understand what's going on, my friend. And Mike had a really big body of work here 2 decades going, hey, see this part? I mean, I get that. That makes all the complete sense in the world.
Sure.
Just hasn't been the case here.
No, it hasn't. And there's this anger that some people have, and it's not personal. But if you were to try to write the case for giving him more time, it's what in the world would you say?
I mean, it would be completely dependent on you think this incoming class is going to change the trajectory of the program. That's it. I didn't say it was a good argument. You said make an argument.
No,
that
you're
is
right.
the argument.
No, I was listening to it.
Matthew Morrell takes a step, and then this incoming class is really good, and Abram takes a step. And you build around that. That's the argument.
Yeah.
Don't light your pitchforks. Just saying.
No, I'm not.
Yesterday we're playing PR for Chris Beard. Today we're giving the reason.
I'm actually fairly impressed because I had someone said come up with one. I'm not sure that I could have. To me, the only argument for like giving him more time would be it's too expensive to fire him and nobody can win. And if you believe that, well then whatever. I don't believe that. Okay, I don't. I don't believe. I watch way too much college basketball. And here lately, I've watched more than I ever thought I'd watch. Like, what in the hell am I doing? Sometimes I'm up here like watching. Last night I had Iowa, Northwestern, I had Kansas State. I'm like, what am I doing watching all this game? Here's the point: you can win in a lot of places. You got to have energy. You got to have something that feels like synergy. Kids have to play hard. You have to have guys who can shoot. There are elements to winning in basketball. Every court's the same. The goals are the same. Not to sound like Gene Hackman from Hoosiers, but he's right. And so you can win at Ole Miss. You can be shitty at Ole Miss. I've seen Andy's last team was atrocious.
Yeah.
It was awful. And these last couple of teams are just not good. And you can talk about what a good coaching job it is and stuff like that. You can talk about those things till you're blue in the face, but it's a scoreboard business. And I think Ole Miss can be better than that.
Lost to UCF and UNA at home too.
Yeah.
This isn't just, the league's really good. No.
Well, and the league's fine.
It's fine.
The league's fine. The league's fine.
It's competitive. Very good.
I mean, Alabama is an elite team when it's dialed in. Tennessee's freaking great. After that, it's kind of
frankly, Ole Miss's best league showing is Tennessee.
Yeah,
they played the balls hard.
Yeah, I mean the rest of the league. I mean, like Auburn does some things where every once in a while you're like, oh boy, I mean they could get I could name 4 or 5 teams out of the SEC: Auburn, A&M, I think Arkansas. That if they got maybe even Missouri, that if they got the right draw and the right officials, they could win a couple of games in the tournament.
But here's the deal. All that doesn't even matter. What matters is expectations and perception. And across a variety of reports, not even anything I've done or Neal's done, the Ole Miss athletics director says Ole Miss's goal in basketball and expectation is they're in the NCAA tournament conversation every single year.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's all that really matters.
Sure.
When grading you set an expectation and the employee meets or doesn't meet that expectation.
Sure.
I mean, I get there's other things, but at the end of the day, that's the main thesis of things.
I mean, he's the boss.
Yeah. He sets a guideline, and then you meet or you do not meet that guideline.
We've talked about this. I mean, did you ever watch Keith Carter play basketball?
Yeah.
Because I watched him play basketball.
They showed a highlight last night.
I remember watching full games. That dude wanted to win. He wasn't a passive player. Now, he was really talented. He wasn't one of those guys that was nothing but effort and elbows. I mean, he was really talented. But
no, it's eating him freaking alive. But that they're not winning at men's college basketball.
I doubt if in Keith Carter's 4-year career where he played, I don't know, let's just call it just for a round number, 130 games.
Sure.
And it's probably more than that. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to guess that in 129 of those, he played really, really hard. Maybe there was one game where he was half asleep and a knee hurt a little bit.
Had mono or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd even bet on that. And his teams won. He played with people that Mike White, Anthony Boone, Ansu Cisse, Jozon Darby. I'm trying to think who else was on those teams.
Look at you go. I'm going to letting you go ahead and go through it.
But dudes who could really there were a bunch of guys who were effort and elbows guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mike White. Mike would probably admit this.
Yeah.
Mike wasn't ever the most athletic dude on the floor.
Yeah. Keith was more talented than Mike.
Yeah. I mean, nobody ever looked at Jozon Darby and said, that dude's going to play in the league.
Yeah.
Anthony Boone maybe could have been something till he tore up everything in his knees. And then after that, he was an effort and elbows guy.
Mm-hmm.
Cisse was an NBA caliber player. They were
he got a cup of coffee.
They were talented, but you understand my point. There's no way that he looks at this and goes, that's cool, whatever. As long as we win in football. I just don't buy that. There's no part of me that believes that Keith Carter looks at basketball and goes, well, you know what? As long as we're winning in baseball, that's awesome. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
Frankly, he feels an obligation because he's the athletic director to win at the sport because of his history. Told me that. I used it in that's the quote I used last week. So
JM says, I get what Keith said about expectations, but do the boosters agree with him? Here's the thing. This is the truth. And this is a hard thing for people to hear because people want to. Ole Miss has allowed themselves, and it's what it is. I'll be honest with you, Chase. I'm convinced with this. It is a defense mechanism. It's as long as we're good in football and we've got baseball, that's our thing. No. You've got to bring in somebody that excites people. Even last night, they had the student section turned out. They were there. On a night when it was cold and ice and all that stuff, they were there. Frankly, you owe it to the students to give them a product that makes it fun. But you just have to you have to produce a product that gets boosters excited. You have to bring in somebody who can go to boosters and sell them. Bottom line. Who was the guy I was talking about the other day? Porter Moser at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Look, Oklahoma's a football school. Oklahoma's they don't get a big baseball crowd or whatever, but they clearly put an emphasis on it. They played for the national championship. I mean, you can't say
they're the most dominant softball program in history.
They're awesome at it.
And they care.
And they pack the place.
Yeah.
Porter Moser came in and started doing all the stuff.
And it's adaptability. It's you find somebody who just figures out a way to do it in a lot of different ways. I think this is a part too. If we're likely going into a coaching search here. This is important. You need a coach who, if 1 year it's not there where you get a ton of impact guys, you do go international, you do go transfer, you just figure it out however you got to figure it out. And I'm using an example. This isn't about yesterday with the Chris Beard thing, but I was reading a story this morning in The Athletic. Neal saw it as well. I think it was Dana O'Neal. She got a one-on-one with the players at Texas talking about post Chris Beard, how'd they kind of handle it, because they're winning the Big 12 right now. They're really good. They lost to Tennessee, but whatever.
So what?
So she basically had dinner with them Friday night in Knoxville. She went to Ruth's Chris where they had their night before meal, and Texas money right there. Basketball team at Ruth's Chris the night before the game. But anyway, and one of the things she pointed out was that they were more mature as a roster. And I've got a point I'm getting at is that one of the guys around the table goes 24, 22, 23, 23, 23, talking about ages of a lot of their better players. Now Hunter's 19, young kid. But they're the 7th oldest team in the country right now, and older than every one in the top 25 except for Virginia and Iowa State, and that's kind of Virginia's thing. Tony Bennett does a really good job of developing and getting older guys there with the Cavaliers. But you look at where these dudes came from, and it's Chris Beard at Texas, who put together 2 Elite Eights, a national championship team, and runner-up, and then what he's done at Texas in short time. And her paragraph, there's experience at this table and not just the sort of sorted with a birthday. Only Cunningham began his career at Texas. Dessou spent 2 years at Vanderbilt. Hunter left Iowa State after 1 season. Allen transferred from Utah following 3 seasons. Rice is a grad transfer from New Mexico State. Bishop spent 3 years at Creighton, and Carr is on his 3rd stop after 1 season at Pitt and 2 more at Minnesota. That's Texas's nucleus right there. So not only are you able to, in his past, recruit and develop talent in one way, but because you got to fix it quickly at Texas because they have no patience. He goes into the portal. In fact, he has no patience. Go into the portal, get dudes. But then when you go into the portal, it's, hey, no. That dude can play. And then you at least get what they were getting, and then you totally elevate. The problem is when you get the portal guy and he actually falls or it's the same, you go, hey, no, he's going to take this step. Well, there's no evidence of that unless you're a really good developed guy and talent guy. And you go, no, I see it. They're not doing something correctly. Football example. Jared Ivey is better at Ole Miss and Georgia Tech because they use him more effectively.
Yes.
Other guys, they're the same dude. Ty Fagan has been the same dude. Not picking on Ty. He's an SEC basketball player. But he was never going to go be your star from what he was doing. So, no, you got to figure it out. It's all about seeing a dude and understanding whether he can play at this level or he can, and then make a decision based off that.
You do it in baseball?
Because it works
football?
both ways. It's, can you fix it in basketball quickly? Sure. Yeah. You can also screw it up quickly because you've only got how many roster spots? 3 or 4 misses and you're done.
Yeah.
So you've got to hit at a very efficient high level in doing that.
Yeah. You got to have kids that want to come play for you.
Yeah, no, baseball's the same way. I mean, Mike Bianco, Carl Lafferty, they brought in Ethan Groff from Tulane and Anthony Clarko from Northwestern because they believe they can hit in the SEC.
Yeah.
They look at it and go, no, that'll translate.
They brought in Troy Brown because they thought he could play linebacker in the SEC.
Yeah, Chance Campbell.
Yeah. And they had some misses too. But you're right, in basketball, because the roster's the way it is, you have too many misses and you're screwed. You have to, in today's basketball environment, you've got to be able to assemble a team and build chemistry and synergy and make it work. Simple as that. As hard as that is. But and look, I'm not Mr. Ole Miss guy. I just think you can make it. I think you can make it entertaining and fun there. I do. I think you can make it. I've seen it. I've seen it when it was fun. When I watched that place get pretty full. Kermit's first year, you saw it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the pavilion was different. Those were fun games.
Frankly, as late as 19. It was pretty damn good when Tennessee came in that day and they threw stuff on the floor, take that out. It was a good environment.
Yeah, it was a good environment. I was trying to think what happened with that team. Was that the team that?
It was that second. It was they kind of fell off or whatever, right?
Okay.
But
yeah, I can't. I lose track of. Maybe because the 2020 thing rolled in and just you forget
mentally it doesn't translate.
2020 was the year that they were a game away. The 1920 season. No, the 2021 or the whatever the shortened season the next year. They went 10-8 in the league. The one that ended in 21. That's right.
Yes.
And then last year was a disaster.
That is correct.
This year appears to be the same disaster.
Yeah, 4-14 last year and 1-8 here at the break. Yeah, Ole Miss. Yeah, they fell off, but at that point they were still. It was February. They had kept it together. They ended up going 6-12 in the league. So Kermit's SEC records 10-8, 6-12, 10-8, 4-14, 1-8.
Yeah.
At this point. Jumping around a little bit. Obviously, we'll hit a lot of NFL stuff with Jeffrey tomorrow, but Tom Brady retires this morning. He says for good this time. He just posted about a minute and a few seconds video on the Twitter from the beach. He said you only get one really long emotional goodbye, and he's already used that one last year. Kind of made a joke of himself.
I really respected the way.
I hope he figures out a lot for himself.
Yeah, of course. I respected the way that he did it.
All jokes aside, he had one hellaciously bad year, and you hope that he does whatever that it is that makes him fulfilled and content and happy moving forward.
Yeah, I hope people don't spend the day bashing Tom Brady. That feels wrong. He made a mistake. God, he paid for it. Jeez.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you watch Tom Brady, and it wasn't even about football. I watched him all year and go, God dang, he's just unhappy. I feel bad for the guy.
I mean, look at the amount of weight that he's lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he's not eating. He looks depressed.
Went through a public hellacious divorce.
Yeah. I mean,
he's losing time with his kids. I mean, there's so much here about the human. Forget the football player. The Chubby figures it out.
That's why I hope I need to stay off Twitter today, because there will be people who will be making fun of him. And I don't think that's right. And he's the GOAT.
The biggest winner in NFL history.
Look how hard it is to win Super Bowls.
And at the end of the day, that's the point. Win.
And he got to what, 10 of them?
Yeah. He won 8, right?
I don't know.
Lost to Eli only, right? No, they got
he lost to Eli twice.
And then last year, Rams.
They
get back, right? That's who the Rams beat? No, they were in the NFC. Who'd they beat?
I can't remember.
He has 7 Super Bowl championships. I think he's been to 10, though. So
I think he's 7-3, but whatever.
Yeah, we're forgetting one. Whatever. Eagles?
Maybe so. I don't know.
The Eagles beat the Patriots when Peterson won with the Philly special.
Yeah.
Was that the Pats?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was.
All right. 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time MVP.
He lost to Nick Foles.
Yeah. 2-time Offensive Player of the Year. NFL Comeback Player of the Year. 15-time Pro Bowler. Led the NFL in passing touchdowns 5 times. Passing yards 4 times. Passing rating leader a couple times. Every damn other long-term career award there is imaginable.
All you have to know about Tom Brady
is the 199th overall pick.
All you have to know about Tom Brady is that at the end of every game the last few years, all the young players can't wait to go talk to him. And it's more like that reverence.
There's like a rush to exchange jerseys. Like, please, hey.
Yeah, there's a reverence about it.
Yeah.
So that guys can say, I played against Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's cool. I think it speaks volumes for what he did for the game. He's been one hell of an ambassador for the game as well. So, yeah, I need to stay off Twitter because there will be people making fun of it. I'm not a Brady guy. But like yesterday, there was this people talking about this inevitability that he goes to San Francisco. And I thought, no, come on, I remember thinking yesterday, just walk away. Walk away. Everybody, we all know what we saw this year. Just walk away. Go find some happiness. Maybe get in a TV booth. Maybe become an executive, whatever. Go relax.
It's the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl in 3 separate decades. He is the oldest NFL MVP at 40, the oldest Super Bowl MVP at 43, and the only quarterback selected the Pro Bowl at 44. Also, the only NFL quarterback named to 2 all-decade teams, the 2000s and the 2010s.
Yeah, I mean, just
good God.
I mean, he's the football equivalent of Michael Jordan.
And as you talked about the other day, the way the NFL does it, you get him in the Hall of Fame as soon as possible and let him get his speech, and let's move on.
Yeah, I put him in next year.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want. Why are we making him wait 5 years? I don't want to wait. Put him in. I know they'll make him wait, but
there's rules.
I'd love for him just to. I don't know. I'm cheering for the guy. I hope it all. I mean, and he's going to be fine. He's got millions upon millions upon millions, all that stuff. But he went through a year of public hell.
Yeah,
I hated it. It was
in all honesty,
depressing.
I mean, football and money is not fixing the personal hell a person goes through.
No, and it was pretty obvious when you looked at him that he was going through hell.
He went away for a little while. I mean, he would during the week just leave for a couple days.
Yeah,
he couldn't put a week together mentally. He needed the reset a couple days to try to get some of the other
Yeah.
other stuff. Sean Payton headed to the Denver Broncos yesterday.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? Good trade for the Saints. If he's not going to coach your team, you get some picks out of it.
Well, you're going to get picks anyway. I don't like giving up that extra third. The Saints fans are kind of pissed because you end up. I mean, yeah, you got some picks, but I think they kind of thought there'd be more. Maybe it was all our dumb thinking, but now there was a lot of frustration actually around New Orleans yesterday on what that exchange was. I don't know. If you're the Broncos, you still got to believe in Russell Wilson. That's the interesting thing. Payton was always, the Broncos were the most likely spot for him from the very beginning. But in Payton and Wilson, they have 7 draft picks, including 3 first-rounders and 3 second-rounders, $161 million guaranteed to Wilson. And they're saying Payton can make almost up to $20 million a year with the Broncos. All in. I
get
but
it.
on Russell Wilson.
Oof. Feels like Sean could have done better.
It just something doesn't feel right. I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah, it just doesn't quite.
But in today's football, maybe a lot of teams that you think would be interested in Sean Payton are like, I don't want to pay the coach $20 million. I can go get a different kind of coach. I can get Nick Sirianni. I can get Zach Taylor. I can get those kinds of coaches for a lot cheaper than that.
Saints are getting the Broncos first-round pick in 23 and a second-round pick in 24, and then giving up their third-round pick in 24.
Where's Denver's pick this year?
That's what I was actually pulling up.
It's a fairly decent pick, right?
I mean, it should be. It's not top 10. Or at least like top 8.
We'll laugh at a couple. I'll tell you later. I don't know where it is. I don't know. We'll see with Payton.
Oh, it's 29th.
Oh, if you're Denver, that's not bad.
No, you didn't get enough.
No, you didn't. Saints didn't get enough.
Look, I get he was like the NFL Executive of the Year and he won the Super Bowl, but Loomis has had some weird stuff. Like, they have not done a very good job of putting their entire franchise together. It's been a lot of duct tape and misses and stuff there. So it's weird seeing him coach somewhere else. As much as you can on a pro level, he was New Orleans. Like, there's a certain to that is it's kind of difficult from a fan standpoint.
I thought he would end up with one of the LA teams. I thought that's where he was.
I was a little surprised he didn't wait a year.
A little bit.
Let it shake, see what happens. Because look, if they don't get something done, Staley will be fired in LA next year with the Chargers.
Yes. No, he's a one and done.
D'Amico Ryans headed to Texans. He's beloved there with Houston. So we'll see what that looks like.
Hope he got a lot of money.
Got a 6-year guaranteed deal.
Good for him.
So there's some money in that. No doubt about that. Something that does not matter whatsoever. But can you name the Pro Bowl quarterbacks for the AFC that are playing in the game? Or the skills game, if you will. Sorry, it's changed,
It's David Carr.
Derek Carr, but close enough.
Okay.
Who got benched in December and is playing in the game, and they're trying to trade him. So they're trying to trade their Pro Bowl quarterback.
It's the Ravens backup, Huntley.
That's where I'm going with this, is that Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowl quarterback. He started 4 games this season. 4. And he is a Pro Bowler. If you need an example of why the Pro Bowl no longer matters on any level whatsoever, including they don't need the free trip to Hawaii in the week, this is one of the dumber things ever.
As someone who watches a lot of AFC North, Tyler Huntley, who I'm sure is a wonderful person, is not a Pro Bowl quarterback.
He got the 7th most Pro Bowl votes this year, which is the Athletic says still too high, but whatever. And saw Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson all opt out. So
yeah,
Carr and Huntley come on down at this point.
Do you know that if Derek Carr were to get hurt,
I did see this,
like playing dodgeball, it would cost the Raiders like $20 million. $40 million.
40. They are going to watch a Pro Bowl skills competition where they lose $40 million if Derek Carr tears an ACL in dodgeball messes up his shoulder in a long drive competition that is currently part of the Pro Bowl skills thing. Can we just kill it?
Shouldn't he go to the Raiders and go, hey, well, I'll tell you what, I'll pull out for $2 million.
Ooh.
Write me a check right now and I'll pull out.
If you want to hedge your bet here that nothing will happen to my body that's been hit a lot.
Write me a $2 million check and I'll head to the beach. We'll let this thing expire.
Ooh.
If I were his agent, I would try that.
Is it Josh Allen who said he's still going out there? He's just not playing.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think he's like, hey, I'm going to go play golf for the week.
Yeah.
Why don't you play? I mean, for a young guy, I guess you go, okay, I'm going to do it once for the experience. But
the flag football thing?
Just in general, like whatever. Just, I'm participating in the. And I wonder if some of the dudes have like contractual obligations where they actually get paid if they're in the event, not just picked.
I don't know. Probably just get named.
Yeah, because you don't want them to play.
No.
You want them to get picked because they had a good year, but then you want them to not play.
I mean, if you're like the Texans, you don't want Laramie Tunsil out there getting his leg rolled up.
No, it wouldn't be preferable.
No. Have to worry about that. An injury that happens in February.
He seemed a little energetic on social media yesterday. Felt like they actually were at least trying.
Well, they brought in a qualified coach.
Which
that's step one.
More than they've done the last two times.
Well, there's no question about that.
He seemed happy about that, and they seem to be targeting a 49ers offensive assistant for their OC. That is a thing there under the Shanahan tree.
Well, the Shanahan tree's pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to hold Sunday against Kyle Shanahan.
No, I mean,
felt like it wasn't his fault.
No. No team goes in and goes, our fifth string quarterback doesn't quite have it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like people criticizing Josh Johnson. It's like Josh Johnson is who he is, okay?
Yeah, I mean.
What are we doing here, guys?
Josh Johnson was the fourth string quarterback. Okay? Yeah. What do you expect?
Fourth string quarterbacks don't just
At one point, they were trying to get Christian McCaffrey's helmet wired so that he could take. Come on. That was all you had to know.
No, they had real conversations on it. We just basically run the wing T with Debo or Christian McCaffrey, the Wildcat.
And they knew that he had torn his. They knew he had done the Tommy John. Knew it right away. They knew it. Because they were trying to say it's a nerve thing. It wasn't a nerve thing. There's no way he was going to be able to throw a ball. And then you lose the other quarterback to the concussion. At that moment, you're like, can we just wave the flag? You can't throw a pass. McCaffrey's the only one that threw a pass the rest of the game.
Oh.
Just
I didn't
slung
notice
it.
that.
He slung it.
I would have loved to have seen a game where everybody was healthy.
Sure, of course.
I think the Eagles still win. They're good.
They're really good. They're really good. They're so good up front. On both sides, but especially on that offensive line.
I'll be pulling for them on next Sunday.
Yeah, sure. I can't say that I have a rooting interest.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this. I have no real reason for it over the years, but I've always been sort of anti-Chiefs. I just don't. They don't do it for me at all.
I don't like Mahomes.
No, I don't either. And I don't know if it's his entourage or him or what, but I just kind of.
It's him. And it's the NFL just adores him. And I'm not sure what it is that they adore. I don't get it. I'm chiefed out.
Oh, that's.
I mean, they're not lovable.
No.
And it's Kansas City, so you can't hate them. It's not like. And yet it's not like New England even. When everybody cheered against New England and you kind of, quote, hated New England, but at the same time you sort of respected New England.
Yeah, sure.
I don't really have that for the Chiefs. It's kind of, I don't know. There's something different about it. Like the Patriots in their heyday, you could try to hate them, but you kind of liked Brady. And there
was a certain Yankees feel to it.
Yeah, and you could kind of hate them, but like Gronkowski was funny. And they'd have guys on defense that you kind of liked, like Teddy Bruschi and guys like that. You're like, I wish those guys would lose, but I kind of like them. And Vinatieri you kind of liked him. I don't know. It was just kind of different than it is.
Had a hard
now.
time drumming up a lot of hate for Wes Welker and those kind of guys.
Yeah, you just
like,
kind of,
right.
Kevin Falk. Like, hard to hate Kevin Falk. I find
fog.
it kind of easy to hate Patrick Mahomes. I find it kind of easy to dislike Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, I find it easy to like look at Andy Reid and go, I don't see what the big deal is.
I thought that, not that this even sort of matters, and I get why it was asked. I thought it was a weird question. Who was doing who did play-by-play and then did the interview on the field after the game when they won? Is it Nance?
Yeah, Nance.
I thought it was a weird first question. Instead of talking about the game or Kansas City, he wanted Reid to really comment on playing the Eagles because of his history there. And I thought that was a weird first question.
Yeah.
Because it almost threw Reid off. He's like, hey, can I give my fans something for a second before you want me to talk about the old team? Like, it was a weird, I don't know. It was a strange, that was a third question, not a first question.
And he's been in Kansas City so long that the Eagles thing is not really, it's not like he's coaching against his former players.
Yeah, it's not next year. It's Broncos Saints in the Super Bowl. And you go, oh, wow, whatever. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah. Ginger says it's his girl and his brother, and it could very easily just be
that is a part of it.
Well, it's certainly a lot of it. And like Romo was like, this is Michael Jordan's flu game. I'm like, shut up.
He's gotten worse.
He was awful.
He is, I don't know if he's so pleased with himself that he just talks more, but Greg Olsen is better.
Oh, yeah.
Olsen's the better color commentator at this point.
Oh, it might be why Tom Brady's like, hey, hello?
I can do that.
I mean, you don't think Tom Brady in the broadcast booth would be entertaining? I'm in.
I think the networks would go after that one.
I mean, you'd give him a shot. Like, sure, Tom, here's $20 million. Make a run at it.
He'll be better than Breeze.
Yeah. And Romo just won't stop talking.
Commentator or executive, if you had to put the money on it? My feel is executive.
I think it's executive, but if you told me that he did a little 1 or 2 year TV stint for the hell of it,
stay around it for a minute.
I mean, I'd have to think about getting rid of Romo right now.
Ooh. Really?
He's not good.
Because that's some of the problem is you can't really demote him.
He just keeps talking and talking and talking. Like, you're up there. You're with Jim Nance. Let Jim Nance guide you a little.
Oh, McVay would be really good if he decided to do it.
Well, I'm shocked he's not done it.
I think it's one more.
Yeah. No, he'd be terrific at it.
I think he and Aaron Donald are sunsetting next year.
No, he would be terrific at it. But I think Brady would be really good at it.
Yeah, I do too.
And the level of access Brady would be able to get
Whatever
the night before.
Whatever he wants.
Hey, I know you don't normally do these, but Tom Brady wants to talk to you. Okay, I'll be right there.
Yeah. Done.
Yeah, I just think it would be pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, but it feels like he'll be an exec.
Somewhere. Tonight's SEC schedule, for those who are curious, ESPN2 at 6 o'clock. Tennessee is on the road in Gainesville to face Florida. And that one, Florida 5-3 in the SEC.
A big shot for Florida. I mean,
and then Tennessee 7-1. One loss to Kentucky.
It's a big opportunity for the Gators.
Georgia is at Auburn tonight. Georgia 4-4 in the SEC. Auburn 6-2 in the SEC.
Yeah, that's a game Auburn has to win and will win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Missouri tonight, just trying to stay out of a disaster. They're at home against LSU tonight in Columbia. LSU 1-7 in the SEC. Missouri 16-5 overall, 4-4 in the SEC.
Yes, just win it by a point. Who plays Saturday?
Missouri by 10 tonight is the line. Auburn by 12 and Tennessee by 5.5 are your lines.
Ooh, 12's a big number because Georgia sometimes will play pretty hard.
They're kind of plucky.
Yeah, that's a big number, but Auburn could easily cover that.
Saturday, Ole Miss at Vanderbilt, as we said, Memorial Gymnasium. Auburn at Tennessee on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
1 o'clock ESPN for that one.
Okay.
2:30 Arkansas at South Carolina. SEC Network for that one in Columbia.
See, they get a chance to kind of get well. They're a team I'm watching in February because they've had a couple Februarys in a row.
Alabama will continue their wrecking ball day. They are at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center in Baton Rouge on Saturday, 3 o'clock for that one with the Tide.
You wonder if Nate Oates walks into there and goes, I kind of miss Will being here. Because he'll look over at McMahon and probably be like,
I can't get my juices flowing on this one.
Would you mind just looking at me funny for a minute?
Yeah. Oh, that was appointment TV. You got Oates and Wade together, and you went,
well, pre-games. I mean, the SEC had to send extra people down there, basically.
It wasn't manufactured hate. They hated each other.
Oh, no, it was real. Like, I mean, warm-ups were anybody's guess.
Missouri's at Mississippi State. I just don't see how the Bulldogs have a path, but if you do, you better damn win on Saturday.
And their net's okay. So
Can they get if they went on a run? Are they an 8-10 tournament team?
No,
and I don't think so. So
No.
you're
they're playing for the NIT right now.
Georgia is at A&M on Saturday.
What's a rough week for Mike?
Yeah,
At Auburn, at A&M.
Yeah, he looked at that schedule and went, oh. And then Florida at Kentucky is your nightcap on Saturday.
Florida at Kentucky.
Kentucky has now won 5 straight league games, I believe.
Yeah, they just don't do anything to impress you.
No,
but they won. They're winning. That's kudos to them. They find different ways to win. So maybe that's what.
Not what Sheboy signed up for though, thinking this year was going to be something different.
I wouldn't think. The kid who went off for 27 last night was really good.
Oh yeah.
And Wheeler was tough because I think he rolled that ankle. He probably was not feeling his best.
Mm-hmm. So. All right. Again, coverageherbalgrove.com. By the time you hear this, it will already have happened. Lane Kiffin will speak to the media on signing day here coming up. We'll be back with you. We'll have Jeffrey Wright tomorrow on the show. And then as last week, and basically what happens once football gets all the way out of the way, you'll get a show tomorrow night that will be pre-recorded from a hand-raised guy's standpoint. A lot of college basketball on that and more as well. So hope you have a wonderful day. Again, rebelgrove.com in the meantime for whatever does happen with signing day today. And we will talk to you on Thursday morning.